Good morning, friends. It's Wednesday, and I am going to read chapter 24, Aerith and the Salt. Aerith waddled blindly through the woods. He barged into bushes, bumped into trees, slid, stumbled, fell into pockets of snow. Each time he stalled, he snarled, swore under his breath, picked himself up, pawed his eyes clear, and pushed on. Only when he grew so weary that he had to rest did he stop and lean against the trunk of a tree. He did so reluctantly, gasping for breath. Briefly, he peered back along the trail he had just traveled to see if he had been followed. For a second, he thought someone was there, and his heart jumped. Then he decided he was just imagining things, and his heart sank again. With an angry shake of his head, he mumbled, "Alone at last," and allowed himself a sigh that he fancied was one of contentment. At the same time, he felt a great swell of emotion in his chest, which he did not have the energy to suppress. The effort left him weak and shaky. "Blue heron hoshwog," he muttered. "I'm done with all this family fungus. Better to do what I want, when I want, how I want. I'm free again. Life is good." With that, Aerith gave himself a shake, as if he could rid himself of whatever might be sticking to his quills. "It's about time I did something for myself," he announced out loud. Then he grinned. "Time to get some salt." Damp-eyed, he looked around. By scrutinizing the sun as well as the shadows on the ground, he determined where he was. After careful consideration, Aerith was quite sure he was headlong rush. Aerith was quite sure his headlong rush had taken him north. To the best of his judgment, Long Lake, along with the cabin and the salt, was to be found in a southwesternly direction. Feeling much more composed, Aerith took time to eat before resuming his journey. Yet, once, twice, he gazed about, unable to rid himself of the feeling that someone was lurking in the woods, watching him. "Fool," he muttered. "No one's there. No one will ever be there." Still, he allowed himself the thought that it was always best to be on guard. But when he caught himself taking another peek behind, he made a stern vow to look no more. As he went on, his spirits grew lighter. It was good, he kept telling himself, to be on the move. Good to have no responsibilities other than himself. Uh-oh, this picture is showing us something. So here's Aerith walking toward the cabin. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Marty the Fisher. I'm not sure this is going to end well. He tried to put his thoughts on the salt and how it would taste. He thought too about home, wherever that might be. Indeed, the old porcupine thought of many things, but never once did he allow himself to think of the kits any longer than the moment it took to regret such thoughts. All that, he insisted to himself, was over and done with, finished. Only once did he slip from his mental discipline when he suddenly shouted, "They didn't even say thank you." That said, he vowed to say no more. It was done, gone, finished. The end. The porcupine pushed through the woods at a steady clip. The snow had receded, leaving great patches of brown, cold earth. The pine-scented air was bright and crisp, filled with buoyant energy. When Aerith decided he had gone far enough to avoid the field and the bluff, he swung southwest, trusting that at some point he would reach the shore of Long Lake. It was not till late afternoon that he rested again. Early winter shadows, like grasping paws, extended a stealthy hold over what remained of the crusty white snow. The porcupine fueled himself with a quick chew of some bark, then set off again. The lake should be near, he told himself, trying to ignore his exhaustion. As he hurried, there were a few times, despite his earlier resolve, that he caught himself thinking about the kits again. What had they done all day? Had they eaten well? Did they do their chores? Had they thought about him? Then, with a snarl, he muttered, "Saliving shrew slop!" He angrily dismissed such thoughts and willed himself to concentrate on the salt that would soon be his. He reached the lake at twilight. In the dim light, its surface lay white and frozen. Aerith stared at it. It looked so cold and deserted. Suddenly, tears began to flow. "Oh, why did I ever leave home?" he asked himself. "Because of my birthday," he recalled. "No one paid any attention to me. I was forced to go and get a present for myself. And look what happened. Well, that'll be my last birthday." "That'll teach him," he said out loud with a savage bite in his voice. "Salt," he whispered in desperation. "I must get some salt." With new urgency, Aerith wheeled about and hurried on. Keeping the lake to his right, he skirted the shore. Sometimes, as he scooted across low, bench-like areas, the going was easy. At other times, the shore was irregular or boggy, clotted with old brambles. In those places, he had to push his way through or take long detours. "Why is it always so hard to get where you want to go?" he complained. Night wore on. The white moon rose up brilliant promise, only to be obscured by clouds. A wind rattled the bare branches like old bones. Around midnight, snow began to fall. Fearful that if he stopped, he might never move again, Aerith pressed on. The snow piled up quickly, making the going slower. When dawn came, gray and hard, mantled by still falling snow, he dared not rest. Then, at last, Aerith saw the cabin. By early morning's thin light, it seemed little more than a dark lump on the snow-filled landscape. No lights were on, though Aerith reminded himself that there was no proof the hunters weren't there. It was still early. The humans might be sleeping. He sniffed the air, trying to detect any hint of burning wood. None. Emboldened, Aerith edged closer to the cabin. He continually looked about, seeking some sign, any sign that would suggest the presence of people. There were no footprints, but new snow would have covered them. Briefly, he tried to calculate the time since he'd seen the hunters on the field. Was it 2 weeks ago? A month? In the growing daylight, he scrambled under the cabin and peered around. No snowmobile. That, he decided, was a good sign. Then he caught sight of the box in which he had seen the traps and was filled with revulsion. Even so, he crept forward, hoisting himself up and peered inside. The box was empty. Had the humans come back and set the remaining traps? Or had they returned and taken the traps with them? Cautiously, Aerith crept out from under the cabin and worked his way to the front porch. He went up the steps and put his nose on the door jamb. A tremor of excitement coursed through him. The smell of salt was unmistakable. It was still there. His heart hammered. Oh, if only he could have some. So much would be mended. He crawled up to the window, the one he had previously knocked in. Not only was the glass back in place, bars had been placed over it. One glance and a disappointed Aerith knew there was no way he could get through it. He dropped down and butted his head against the door. It would not give. Frantic, he raced down the steps and around the cabin, searching for any way to get inside. He found none. He even plunged under the cabin in hopes he might discover an entry there. Once again, he was thwarted. "Hit the puke switch and duck," he shouted. "It's not fair. I deserve better. I've been treated badly. I should get something." Furious, feeling nothing but the cruel injustice of the world, he raced back to the front porch. Maybe he had given up on the window too quickly. In great haste, he crawled up and balanced himself on the windowsill. Perched precariously, he clutched the bars and tried to rattle them as if he were in a cage and trying to get out. The bars held. Increasingly desperate, he reached through the bars and pressed against the window itself. It would not budge. Thoroughly defeated, he turned around. Only then did he see that right below him, on the porch, was another animal. He was about 3 feet in length and more than a foot tall, with short brown fur and small, round, dark eyes, which, to look at them, were almost blank of emotion. "Got you," said Marty the Fisher. "Got you at last." All right, my friends, I'm going to leave you on a cliffhanger. Tomorrow I will read chapter 25. Come back. What happened at the cabin? I'll give you a little preview. There's Marty the Fisher. Oh, my friends, we are reaching the peak of the story where we get to see what happens. All right. I have posted several things on your Google Classroom. Make sure to check those out. One of them is a survey that I would like for you to take, and I also sent it to your parents, about when and if you would like Zoom meetings. Those are those ones where we can meet all together and see each other and visit. So I need to know your opinion on that before I start scheduling those. Also, invite your parents to fill out that survey if they also have an opinion. Don't forget to do your Flipgrid for sharing. And I also posted a second Flipgrid, and that Flipgrid is for any additional sharings or things that you would like to share with the class. You can post more than one on that second Flipgrid that I posted. Okay, don't forget to do your math. Please have your parents check your subtraction. Subtraction can be a bit tricky. So don't forget to let parents help you, and be very careful when you borrow and regroup from that next place value or even the next one. Okay, if you have any questions and you need some additional help, have your parents send me an email, or you can make a comment on one of the videos and I will get back to you. We can set up our own Zoom meeting, just the two of us, and I can help you with that subtraction if you need additional help. So have a fantastic Wednesday, my friends. I miss you, and I hope that everything is going well. Stay safe, stay home, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.